Hello and welcome back to London Cycle Routes. Today I'm going to show you how to cycle from St Paul's Cathedral in the City of London all the way out to Stratford in East London. This takes about half an hour and you can do it all pretty much on protected cycleways and quiet streets. If you find this video useful or you want to see more routes like this across London, then do make sure you hit the subscribe button in the bottom right hand corner there, because that's what this channel is all about. Right, let's get going. We're starting right outside St Paul's Cathedral and I'm taking you down Cheapside. This used to be a really busy road right in the middle of the City of London, but it's had a bus gate installed here. It's those signs, they say buses and cycles only, and there's also been seating and trees added. That's had the effect of really quietening down the street quite a lot, so it's now a really pleasant place to cycle, and there's people walking, running, cycling in the road, and there aren't any cars at all. For now, this is just an experimental traffic order that the City of London has put in place, but it could become permanent if it works out, and to be honest, I think it's actually pretty nice, so there's a good chance that it'll stay like this after the pandemic. We're coming up to the Bank Junction now, which has also had through traffic removed. There's a lot of traffic lights here, because the layout was designed for when there was a lot more traffic on the roads, so there's a lot of stop and start. I'm stopping at all the red lights, not everyone else is. I'm not really holding it against them, to be honest. And to be clear, the reason that there's not a lot of cars here, it's not just because of the pandemic or the fact that nobody's going to work, it's because the City of London has actually changed the layout of its roads and put traffic filters in some parts of town. So as long as that remains the case and the city decides to continue with it, then the traffic levels will continue to be low. It doesn't matter if lockdown has been lifted and, you know, people have gone back to the office or something like that. And we're just passing the Cheese Grater skyscraper on the left there, by the way, and there's the Gherkin just behind it on St Mary Axe. You can see that on the left. So you should be preparing to turn left now. There are actually a couple of different alleyways that you can go down. We're going to go down this one here called Cunard Place. There's actually not a drop curb here and you have to get off your bike. You could have gone left at the next alleyway, to be honest, and that might even be a better way to go, but this is the way I decided to go. If you'd gone left at the next one, you would have joined here. So we're now just working our way through back streets, so we go down Mitre Street, and then we turn left again down this courtyard, which does have a drop curve. It's called Mitre Square, and then it leads on to St James's Passage. After that we go out onto this slightly larger street called St Botolph Street. Now this road actually looks like it could get quite busy at various points, but we stick to the cycle lane just for a minute, and we're only on this for a very short stretch of time. You go around the corner here, and yeah, you can see here, we're actually exiting the low traffic area, so it looks like it's about to get really busy, but don't worry, we immediately turn left, and it takes us onto this protected cycleway, and there's a curb here separating us from the motor traffic, and I absolutely love doing this. I love zooming up the inside of stationary traffic and just overtaking it all at once. It's absolutely fantastic. One of the best things about cycling in London. Now this protected curb is actually going to be with us pretty much the whole way in various different guises all the way to Stratford, with a couple of notable exceptions which I will point out when we get there. One interesting thing is, so this was one of the original cycle superhighways that Boris Johnson built when he was mayor, and it was originally very, very bad, but since it was put in, it's actually been upgraded several times. So you've had curbs added, like that one here, you've had little islands added like that, and you've had wands added, which are those little plastic poles that you saw earlier. These have all been added at different times, which is why they're different methods, and I think overall it creates a pretty good protected route all the way out to East London. The biggest exception is here, Whitechapel Market. Now the traders at Whitechapel Market didn't want protected cycleways put in because they thought it would make it difficult to load, which I mean, I don't know if that's true or not, but it is quite annoying. And there is a short stretch here on the road, although most of it is actually in a bus lane here. You can see we're in a bus lane, so most general traffic is kept away from it, and there are only TfL bus drivers who tend to be pretty sensible. One thing to look out for though is those vans in the loading bay at the market, because they could pull out without warning. That's just something to keep an eye on as you go through, but generally I think it's probably okay because it's such a short stretch. You can see that we already rejoined the protected lane. And also it is worth saying that on the other side of the road, in the opposite direction, the lane never gives up, like it goes all the way through, so this is actually the more difficult direction to go in. If you were wondering about the choice of dividing barriers on this cycleway, by the way, you see these poles everywhere, they're called wands. Apparently I'm told one of the reasons that they put those in is they're a lot cheaper, and it's not just because they're cheaper to buy, but they're also cheaper to install, because if you put a curb line in, then you have to redo the drainage on the whole street often, because the drains may not be able to support it. But if you put those little wands in, then they don't actually mess with the drainage so much, so actually it saves like millions and millions of pounds. They do have their advantages, like you can leave the lane and join the lane at any point. It's a lot easier to do that than if there's a curb, fair enough. But I don't think they look quite as good as a curb, and I think I'd overall prefer curbs. But, you know, as an emergency measure, something that's quick to install, it's definitely good to stick those in, and that's why you see them everywhere. They're definitely better than an unprotected lane. We're just passing Queen Mary University of London on the left there, by the way, so if you're a student there or if you work there, then, you know, this could be a great way to cycle to university or to work. This route is called Cycle Superhighway 2, and it was originally put in I think about 2012, and unfortunately it had a terrible reception because it was really, really bad when it was put in. There was almost no protection, pretty much. It was really just painted lanes, and it was a big focus of criticism. And then in around 2015 it was upgraded to roughly what you see today, and I think there have been a few additions to it since then, and it is now pretty good, I think. This is probably a good time to say that if you want to see more cycle routes across London on just quiet streets and protected cycle lanes, then make sure you hit subscribe on the YouTube channel, because this channel is all about documenting routes just like that. If it helps you get your bearings, by the way, we actually a second ago just passed by Mile End Tube Station, so we're really just following the District line out east. If you're wondering about the design of these bus stops, by the way, you can see that the track goes behind them. That's so when there's a bus waiting at the stop, we don't have to overtake it and it doesn't have to overtake us, which is what happens if you put the track on the other side of the bus stop. As it is, you know, you can just go straight through it. Here's another one here. You can see there are little zebra crossings, so if someone is trying to cross, then you do have to wait for them, so, you know, don't just zoom past. I think I'm right in saying that this route is actually the first place that that sort of bus stop was installed. They're now actually increasingly common across London, and if there's a cycle route installed, then they tend to use that kind of bus stop. The main disadvantage is that they take quite a lot of space, so there might not be room to put them in the road. And also if passengers aren't used to using them, then they might step into the cycle track without looking, which is why it's important to, you know, stop if somebody's coming and, you know, keep an eye out for it. But generally, you can see from the video that, you know, there are a couple of little gaps in the protection, but it's actually generally a pretty good route, and I think most people would feel pretty safe and protected cycling down it. We're now coming up to the Bow Roundabout. Before the route was upgraded, this was actually the accident black spot, but it now has a completely protected design that anybody can use. So there's a first light there that you go through, and then you wait at the second light, then go through the green, and then head straight for the protected lane, and it will just carry you round, and it's basically the same on the other side of the road as well. There's a short stretch of painted lane here. I don't know why this hasn't had ones put in. And there's also a bus stop here which hasn't been done in the bypass style, you can see, so we would have to overtake a bus if there's a bus parked there, but it does quickly rejoin the protected lane here. For some reason as well, there's also a sort of sign on the pavement saying that you can cycle on the pavement, so if you want to do that you can. I don't know why you would. Coming up on the left here, by the way, is an entrance to the Olympic Park, so if you want to go there or you want to do a route that connects to there, then this is the place to go. You go up through the gate there on the left. You can see there are some people coming out of it on bikes, and you can cycle on most of the paths in the Olympic Park as well, so you know, that connects up to some useful routes. You can use it to get to Walthamstow, for instance. And you can see there's a lot of construction around here. I mean, the Olympics were nearly a decade ago now, but there are still flats going up everywhere in Stratford. So, since we left the City of London, we've basically been following one massive road. It was Whitechapel Road at first, and then I think it turned into Mile End Road, and then it became Bow Road. I think it's called High Street at the moment. That's about to change, so in a second we're actually going to turn left. It's quite a complicated turn. Your cue for that is the cycle path changing colour here. It becomes the sort of just tarmac-y colour. And then you wait at the lights here and go across the road. And then you wait at the lights again and go across it. And the track actually changes into a two-directional track. And this is called Great Eastern Road, and it's going to take us right into Stratford Station. So if you recognise Stratford at all, you'll know that we're basically here now. So that's the Stratford Centre coming up on our right. That's the original shopping mall of Stratford. And we're just going to pull up on the pavement here, and you can cross the road as a pedestrian. And yeah, there's Stratford Station dead ahead of you, and Stratford Westfield, the new shopping centre, or newish I suppose shopping centre, just to our right there. So we're here now. Thanks very much, guys. Cheers for watching all the way. Here's the route again. You can see it's pretty direct. Basically goes all the way on a single road once you've left the City of London. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video. It does help other people find it. And thanks very much for watching, and see you next time.